kiddos. So, this is going to be chapter 10 of The Doll People. I know I said I'd record it on Friday, and the day just got away from me. So here I am on Monday recording it. And the title of chapter 10 is Uncle Doll Moves Out. So if you remember the last time, see the picture? Remember that Annabelle and Tiffany got home about half an hour late, and Mama and Papa Doll were very mad at her because they had been exploring in the house, and then they didn't plan for the time to have to climb up the stairs, how much longer that took. So here we go, chapter 10. Uncle Doll moves out. Annabelle, we were worried about you, said Mama. Very worried, said Papa. I know, I'm sorry. I knew you'd be worried. I forgot how long it would take us to climb back up the stairs. Annabelle, we cannot continue to let you leave the house if you are not going to be responsible about it, Papa said. I was trying to be responsible. I really was, said Annabelle. I told Tiffany 15 minutes ahead of time that we had to stop looking, but the stairs... Annabelle was interrupted by Uncle Doll. Did you see any sign of Auntie Sarah? Papa Doll looked as though he were going to say something, but he kept his mouth closed. No, replied Annabelle, not a sign. We called down the heating vents in case she had fallen down one, and we searched the rest of the living room. We thought we'd look in the kitchen the next time we go out. She glanced at Mama and Papa. I can go again, can't I? She said, even though she knew this probably wasn't the best time to ask such a question. Mama clasped her hands together. I don't know, Annabelle, she said. She glanced at Papa. We can't make that promise. Annabelle stood very still. Please, she said at last. This is very important to me. And you are important to us, said Papa. When you are late, Mama continued slowly, we sit here and worry about you. Worry that, just like Auntie Sarah, you won't come home at all. But, said Annabelle, she glanced at Uncle Doll. Uncle Doll sat on the sofa. He put his head in his hands. Nanny sat next to him. Annabelle looked at them. She looked at Mama and Papa, standing stiffly in the doorway. What, said Annabelle, really happened to Auntie Sarah? You know, don't you, all you grown-ups, you know the truth, and you won't tell me. No, said Mama, that isn't so. We don't know what happened to her. But you know something, said Annabelle, and you won't tell me what it is. She has the feeling that they know something and they won't tell her, so she's trying to get them to. It isn't that so much, Papa Doll began. It's that we had a disagreement. An argument, interrupted Uncle Doll. All right, an argument, said Papa. An argument about what we did after Auntie Sarah disappeared. An argument about what we didn't do, muttered Uncle Doll. I don't understand, said Annabelle. Mama Doll sighed. Your uncle felt we should have made more of an effort to find her. We should have made any effort, said Uncle Doll. We didn't do a thing. We couldn't, spoke up Nanny. We would have put ourselves in danger. We would have jeopardized. We could have figured out how to search for her, said Uncle Doll. But we never went looking, not once. So you hear how they're having this conversation back and forth and different people are talking and some people only say part of a sentence. That's why it might sound a little confusing. How could we have? Asked Mama. Well, I just looked for her, said Annabelle. And we feel that you put yourself in danger, said Papa. Then why did you let me go? Mama and Papa looked pointedly at Uncle Doll. Because it's time we laid aside our fears and let common sense take over, said Uncle Doll. Running around the Palmer's house in the middle of the night and risking being seen is not common sense, said Mama. Annabelle was looking from Mama to Papa to Nanny to Uncle Doll. She had never heard the grown-ups fight before, and now they were fighting and Annabelle was the cause of it. Papa walked across the room and stood directly in front of Uncle Doll. Just what exactly do you think we should have done 45 years ago when Auntie Sarah didn't come back? I think we should have looked for her until we found her. We should have gone out in teams. We should have scoured the house, searched inch by inch from top to bottom. That, said Mama between clenched teeth, violates the code. If it violates the code, how did Sarah manage to leave the house on more than one occasion and keep coming back here? Annabelle drew in her breath. She wondered how often her aunt had left. Before Annabelle could say anything, Mama Doll snapped. She went one step too far and didn't come back. She did violate the code, and that is what is going to happen to Annabelle if she keeps leaving the house. But maybe, said Annabelle, Auntie Sarah is missing because of something that has nothing to do with the code. Maybe she's just stuck somewhere. And she's been waiting all these years for her family to come and find her, Uncle Doll added pointedly. Annabelle thought then of the questions she had asked her parents that they hadn't answered. If I were missing, she began, if I went out and didn't come back for days, wouldn't you come looking for me, or would you just sit in the house and talk about me? Annabelle, don't be insolent, said Nanny. Insolent means sassy. But, said Annabelle, I want to know. Well, said Uncle Doll, looking at Mama and Papa and Nanny, what are you going to tell her? That you'd worry your heads off while you sat around the piano in the middle of the night singing respect. Don't put words in our mouths, replied Papa. You really don't care what I think you do? Said Uncle Doll. You really don't care what I think. Oh, you really don't care what I think, do you? Said Uncle Doll. Just because I have a different opinion about this, because I don't agree with the three of you, then you're right and I'm wrong. Well, guess what? I'm tired of that, Uncle Doll paused. And guess what else? I'm moving out. You're what? Exclaimed Mama. I'm moving out. Annabelle heard a slight noise behind her and realized that Bobby, who had been playing in the nursery, was now standing at the bottom of the stairs, watching and listening. He ran to Uncle Doll. You can't move out, he cried. Where would you go? And Nanny said, oh, no, don't be silly. I'm not being silly, said Uncle Doll. This is serious to me. This is all my fault, said Annabelle with a small moan. No, it isn't, Uncle Doll replied. I'm proud of you, Annabelle. You are the only one of us with true integrity. Annabelle frowned. True integrity? She tucked the words away in her head. She would discuss them with Tiffany later. Uncle Doll ran up the stairs to his room. A few minutes later he returned with several items tossed in a handkerchief, which he tied to a matchstick and placed over his shoulder, like a little bundle, like he has a little stick with a bundle on the end of it. That's where the handkerchief, and he tied his important things in there. Farewell, he said gravely, as he threw the pack down on the top step of the stool and began to climb after it. Where are you going? Asked Annabelle. To, Uncle Doll looked around. To the camper, he said with finality. Annabelle watched as Uncle Doll slid down the steps, landed on the floor of Kate's room, and hurried to the pink Barbie camper under the window. After a few minutes, she followed him. When she reached the camper, she pulled open the door. Uncle Doll was reclining on an uncomfortable-looking cot, which is kind of like a bed without a mattress, which Annabelle was fairly certain had not been part of the camper originally. Kate's fourth Barbie, the one with the long chestnut-colored hair, sat on the floor next to him, smiling quizzically. Annabelle pointed to the Barbie. Permanent doll state? She asked Uncle. No, didn't take the oath. Barbies never do. So there is Uncle Doll, and there's Annabelle talking to him, and there's part of the Barbie. Looks like she's in her bathing suit. Uncle Doll, please come home. I don't want you to move out. I need some time to think. Well, what are you going to do in the morning? You can't let Kate find you in here with your pack. That would definitely violate the code. I know. I'll have to go back to the house before Kate wakes up. But during the day when the Palmers are out and at night when Kate's asleep, this is going to be my home. For how long? I don't know. Until your parents and I sort some things out. Annabelle didn't know what to say. I know you don't understand, Annabelle, Uncle Doll went on. This is just the way things have to be for a little while. All right. I guess you want to be alone now. Uncle Doll nodded. So Annabelle left him and returned to the dollhouse. She went directly to her room and lay on her bed, reading Auntie Sarah's diary until it was time for Kate to wake up. The next day, while Kate was at school and Uncle Doll was thinking in Barbie's camper, Annabelle read the diary. No one disturbed her. She concentrated harder than ever, and by that night, when Kate was asleep, and Annabelle was able to open the journal again, she was more than halfway through it. She had read another 10 pages when Tiffany appeared in the nursery. Oh, said Annabelle, startled. Sorry, said Tiffany. I didn't mean to scare you. That's okay. I was just reading the journal. I've been reading it forever. Everyone's leaving me alone. Are you being punished? Annabelle shook her head. No, not really, but I have a lot to tell you. Tiffany sat on the end of the bed, tucking her feet under her. Annabelle began to relate the events of the previous night. That means tell about what had happened the night before. When she reached the part about Uncle Doll moving out, Tiffany ran to the edge of the nursery and looked across Kate's room at the camper. Is that where he's living? She asked. And here's Annabelle and Tiffany talking on Annabelle's bed. Part-time, replied Annabelle. That's a Barbie camper. Yes? Part-time, replied Annabelle. That's a Barbie camper? Yes. What's a Barbie? A doll. They probably don't make them in Marwin Inc. factory, though. Kate has about 7 Barbies. Nora has 3. And that's a Barbie's dollhouse? Well, sort of. Annabelle returned to the bed and sat down again. She looked serious. I can't imagine how I would feel if Mom or Dad moved out of our house. The worst thing, said Annabelle, is that it's all my fault. But your uncle said you have true integrity. What do you think that means? I'm not sure exactly, but I know it's a good thing. Like you're very clever, or like you're very clear about what you believe in and you stand up for yourself or something. Anyway, he certainly doesn't seem mad at you. He seems proud. Annabelle nodded. But about Auntie Sarah, I wonder what happened when she disappeared. Well, of course Uncle Doll is mad because Mama and Papa and Nanny refused to look for her, said Annabelle. But I have a feeling there's something more. I keep trying to remember. I've been reading her journal all day for clues. You know what, Tiffany? We just have to find Auntie Sarah. I have a feeling that that's the only way the grown-ups are going to stop being mad at one another. I made them get mad, and now I have to make them apologize. But I don't think that's going to happen without Auntie Sarah. Are you certain she's in the house somewhere, Annabelle? Not positive. But I think she is, and that she's okay. I just have a feeling about it. Tiffany moved closer to Annabelle and peered at the journal. Okay, she said. Let's keep reading. We have a lot of work to do. That is the end of chapter 10.